Good evening, everybody. Welcome to All Things Cheryl and a review on the real Black China. As you know, I have been basically doing the review and recap on the real Black China, which is brought to you by Zeus. Those of you all who may not know, Zeus is an app, and the app is produced by a black company. Now, before we go on, click like, subscribe. Click like and subscribe. Now, as you know, the title of this review is called, or the episode that we're going to be looking at, and I'm going to be basically tell you exactly what I feel and what I see. It's called basically Back to Basics. And the reason why I believe it's called Back to Basics is because China, when the episode opens up, we see that China is basically in the restaurant. And of course, last week, we left off where Tokyo Toni once again gets upset once again and walk out on her daughter once again and begin to basically call her daughter all kinds of names. Okay. And so we see that Tokyo and Black China is sitting there. And of course, Black China says, well, she wants to start from the beginning. And Tokyo basically didn't really want to look at or hash out some stuff that was going on that happened when Black China was basically young. And apparently, and it seems that every time that Black China tries to talk to her mother, try to hash out some stuff, she can't seem to get through. She can't seem, her mother is not listening to what Black China is trying to convey to her. I don't know what's going on with this woman. And here we have a daughter who is basically trying to reach out to her mother, trying to work out some of the issues that's going on with her and her mother, trying to work out this communication gap, because it's apparent that there is a communication gap, and Tokyo Toni is she's not getting it. Either she's not getting it or it's not registering. And the fact that Tokyo Toni wants to deal with the fact that she is Black China's mother, and that Black China should listen to her, do as I say, whatever that thing is back in the day. But anyway, we go on and we see that Tokyo walks out again. And this time, the reason why she walked out is because there's some miscommunications, because this time they talked about the fact that we find out that Black China in 2008, I believe, or 18, I could be wrong, that Black China attended a university in Miami. And apparently at the time that Black China was basically getting ready to attend this university, Black China had to get her consent from her mother, Tokyo Toni. So Tokyo Toni, I don't know whether or not if Tokyo Toni understood the type of paperwork that she was being presented in front of Black China for school. So Tokyo Toni is under the impression that basically she paid for Black China's education, which she did not. This is what China was trying to explain to her, that she did not pay for it. All she did was to sign, and we don't know exactly, was it financial aid paper or basically what it was. So I'm thinking that that needs to be hashed out a little bit more. I'm thinking that Tokyo Toni is just one of those type of women who really feels that her daughter needs to listen to her what she's saying. Now, Tokyo storms out and she talks to Watsy. I guess that's the longtime bodyguard slash friend. We don't know whether or not if they had any relationship or anything like that. But my eye is kind of sort of looking at Watsy. And Watsy is kind of like in agreement with whatever Tokyo Toni is saying, what Black China is basically doing to her. Now, Watsy, I don't understand Watsy because Watsy was with Black China when she was coming up while she was young. So Watsy basically knows some stuff, and he's not really saying it. And so Tokyo Toni basically calms down and she goes back into the restaurant. And so basically, Black China basically suggested that the both of them basically go seek help and to go get some therapy. And basically, Tokyo Toni agreed to go get some therapy, which basically is the best thing so far that I have seen. Now, a lot of people are saying that Black China is disrespecting her mother. Black China needs to basically be there for her mother. But basically, from what we are learning, Tokyo Toni has a lot of resentment towards her daughter due to the fact that we not only do we find out that Black China has completed 2 years of schooling. And remember, I think last year, a year before last, the tabloids was basically talking about Black China attending Harvard. Well, that was all construed. She was taking course online. She was doing courses online, and apparently it seems that Black China likes to, continue her education. She's trying to basically further along. Excuse me, further along what's going on with her to increase the knowledge. So we go on and we find out that they have agreed, and so now we get to go and we get to meet some cast of characters, which is one of Black China's. We see that the personal assistants and Black China is basically going to this house somewhere up in the hills in California to meet one of her friends that she had an adventure, she had did a partnership with. And I think her name is Ditzy or Denise or whatever, but I'm going to call her the African woman. Now we go on and we see this woman. Now when I saw her, I'm going to tell you, when I saw her, basically she was an African woman who you can tell that she had like plastic surgery all over her. She didn't really look naturally. She looked basically very fake. She is a woman who's from, I think, either South Africa or somewhere along there. And we find out that her and Black China went into partnership. And the partnership is that her and Black China basically had, I think, everyone was saying or talking about how Black China was basically bleaching her skin. Well, come to find out, that was not the case. What it was that her and this African woman basically developed a cream that was supposed to be for like black pigmentation or whatever, and come to find out that the product that they had was doing very well, but everybody was saying that she was basically bleaching her skin, and she has developed a bleaching cream for people who don't, to bleach their skin. Now we know in certain parts of Africa, and especially in Jamaica, bleaching the skin is very, very popular. I'm not too with the bleaching of the skin, but anyway, whatever it is, or whoever, whatever. But we go on and we find a little bit about this African woman, Ditsy or Denise or whatever she calls herself. She talks about the fact that she's in a different. I really couldn't really get the grasp of what they really was trying to say. It's because she was too much into herself. Her hands were further up her behind. She just basically was talking about the fact that she's a rich girl and that she is in a different zip code. She's in a richer zip code. Now, I understand the zip code thing, and really the zip code thing didn't. It's not new. It's been around for a while. But the fact that I'm not feeling this friend that Black China has befriended, that Black China basically had, done some partnership, that she's making money with this woman. I just don't like her, point blank. I don't like her. She looks like she's a black version of the Addams family. The long hair and all of this. And plus she gives me, and I've never seen a movie called The Mean Girls or anything like that, but she's a mean person. And the fact that I just don't like the way she carries herself. And Black China really, to me, it's a little bit more down to earth. She's a little bit more natural looking, although we can tell that she's done some stuff to kind of sort of enhance her look a little bit, but not as much as the African woman. And she just got on my nerves when she was talking about the zip code shit. I mean, excuse me, the zip code, the fact that, she lives in a different zip code or whatever. Now, while Black Channel was basically over at her friend's house, and she says she basically liked going over there, she liked to talk to her about different things, we find out that the Kardashians, remember a couple of years ago, Rob and Black China was basically trying to get a reality show up off of the road. Well, of course, the Kardashians basically stopped that. And we find out that Black China, I believe she has a lawsuit, or they have a lawsuit on her. Come to find out, they tried to get in the way of her and Rob. Well, basically, they did. And then we go on and we find out that not only is Black China basically trying to further her careers, we go on and we find out that Black China is also interested in music. And so she tells her friends that she's basically interested in music, and that she's already dipped and dabbed into the music scene, and that she's already been featured on Nicki Minaj, Drake, and a whole bunch of things. So she basically wanted, get back into her music, but she's still kind of, it's a lot of time taken up with the fact that her and her mother is going through this challenge that Black China is dealing with Tokyo Toni, and Tokyo Toni is sabotaging or getting in the way. And so we go on and we find out that we see that Black China is basically talking and letting us know that she's got other things to do. She needs to get to her kids. She needs to get on with the other things that she's got going. That's the last shop that she's got in California. That's the music business that she's got on. And the Fashion Nova. She's got a lot of stuff going on, and she really want to kind of tie up this thing with her and her mother. So I'm glad to see that they are going. Her and her mother is going to try to, basically see a psychiatrist, a therapist, and that's basically good. But getting back to the girlfriend, now I'm sensing that Black China and this girl, and also Treasure, we'll get back to her lately. I'm sensing that they're kind of dipping and dabbling in the bisexuality aspect, because every time we get together with either Black China or Treasurer, this time it was Treasure, we see that basically they are like dipping and dabbing and talking about what's going on. And so we finally get to see, and Black China basically, we get to see Freshie. I think his name is Freshie, and Freshie's basically her publisher, and we also get to see. I think his name is Millie or Molly. Molly is the man that is basically, she knows him, and she is going to be getting together with him to basically to kind of sort of get her music off the ground. It's very interesting because it seems that Black China has a knack for this music, and she wants to see whether or not, if indeed, if it can go at her go. So we see her personal assistant, and then we get to meet the publisher, and now we have met this woman who I don't like her. I'm not feeling her. I think she's a very negative person, and to me, she's not cute at all. Like I said, she's a black version of the Addams family. But anyway, we go on and we see where uh, Black China has met with Millie, who will be basically helping her to get her music off the ground. Now, Black China also ran into one of the guy who she had dealt with once before when it came to her and her music. And so we see that she's basically kind of nervous. We see that she has started writing, her tracks and everything. And this guy has already heard her with some of her music. We're not talking about Melly. We're talking about another guy who basically came in is because Austin went with Black China to meet the music producer that's going to be producing her music. And so we go on and we see that Fresh is pretty good at what he does, because he has had some high end talented people when it comes to music. So he basically pretty much know what he's doing. And then we see that we find out that Treasurer got together with Black China to find out exactly what happened at the restaurant. And so Black China basically told Treasure what happened, and then Austin, the public assistant, told her exactly what happened with the mother and everything. And it's apparently, and we can see that Treasure basically really is Black China's best friend, and that the fact that Black China can basically talk to her about anything. So when we see a scene where all three of them are basically together while Black China is basically getting herself ready, I guess for a shoot or something. She's getting ready, I think, with the Fashion Nova or whatever. And we find out that they're talking about, apparently Black China has some dealings with a young man. I forgot what she called him. But anyway, she has several of love interests who basically, as she says, want to wifey her up. But she's really not really into it. She's basically into her career. She's basically trying to work out some stuff with what's going on with her and her mother. Now, that's pretty much what really went on in this particular episode called Back to Basic. Of course, Tokyo has agreed to see the therapist, and Black China has finally got into the studio to basically try to get her music up off the ground, and we see the plastic lurchy friend from Africa who apparently thinks that she's basically better than everybody else. She lives in a different zip code. We all live in a different zip code. But I just don't like her. I don't like her. I don't like her whatsoever. Now, when I saw the music producer, he looks like he's pretty up and up. I think they are going to. I'm really ready to hear exactly, how this music is going to blend, how they're going to work this out. And Fresh, who is her publisher, he's pretty good at what he does. Now, I got a question mark, and I have a question. My question is, we know that Treasure. I want to know, what kind of work are you doing, girl? What kind of you got a job other than hanging out and being a part of the entourage with Black China? So is it you just working with Black China and nothing else? Because we know that Austin is Black China's personal assistant. We also know that she has a publisher. We also met her designer, or the person who basically does her hair, which his name is Jay. And apparently it seems that Treasurer knew the hair designer Jay before Black China. He started doing Black China's hair. That's something different. And then we meet a cast of other characters. So my theory is, what kind of work does she really do? What does she do? Other than those days that she's not around Black China, what does she do to make the money? That's it for me. This is All Things Cheryl. Hope you enjoy, and thank you for taking the time out to check me out. Basically, Tokyo Toni. Now, this is going to be very, very interesting. She has agreed to see the therapist. So let's see how this is going to work. I know the therapist, I know it's going to take a couple of episodes before we actually get to see this therapy. But they are going to do it. I did see some excerpts. So they are going to bring this therapist in. Now, this therapist that they're going to be bringing in, I don't know what his name, but I do know for a fact that he was on Love and Hip Hop in Atlanta. So he was a therapist for that particular show. So we shall see exactly how this pans out. Until the next time, this is All Things Cheryl. I don't really have anything negative to say about Tokyo Toni. A lot of people, and I agree with a lot of the people. I believe that Tokyo Toni. She also stated that when they did do their confession, that she thinks that Black China is basically lonely. I don't think that Black China is lonely. I think it's just the opposite. I think Tokyo Toni is the one who's lonely. Tokyo Toni is the one who's yearning, for Black China attention, and really Black China is really trying to do that, but she really not allowing her due to the dysfunctioning disconnect that the both of them have. Till the next time, this is All Things Cheryl. Peace and love. Till the next video.